Hey everyone, let's talk about day one of free agency. It was filled with excitement, lots of new players joining the team, and some familiar faces returning. It's always fun to see what the first day brings, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what day two has in store. But let's dive into it. First off, thank you so much for all the love and support. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts on day one in the comments below. It's been quite the day already. Sure, we didn't make any huge headline-grabbing moves, but I think we're starting to get a clearer picture of what Coach Harbaugh and General Manager Joe Ortiz are trying to build. They're focused on bringing in solid players all across the board. We still have plenty of cap space, so we haven't made any major moves that would hurt us in the long run. The team still has 22 free agents to work through, so there's a lot of room to make more moves. We've got the time to go after a big-name player. Could we see someone like T. Higgins join the team? The Bengals have a lot going on with heavy contracts, so it's possible they'll have trouble keeping him. Who knows? Anything can happen in free agency. Now, let's shift over to the Chargers. Day one was a strong start with the return of Khalil Mack. My brother already made a video about that. He signed a one-year, $18 million deal, which is great for the team. His cap hit is about $8.8 million, so it doesn't hurt the cap too much, and it's nice to keep a proven leader like Mack on the edge. I think we'll also be looking to add another edge rusher, maybe through the draft. We might even see Tulu Palo step up as the other starter opposite Mack, but don't be surprised if we go after more depth at that position. Another key move was bringing back defensive tackle, Tear Tart. This one came a little later in the day, but it's great to have him back. I'd been hoping we could re-sign him for at least one more year, and it's official. He's back on a one-year, $5.5 million deal, which could go up based on performance incentives. Tart is a beast. He's tough to block and does a great job pressuring quarterbacks. He brings a physical edge to our defensive line that fits perfectly with what we want to do on defense. Also, let's take a moment to talk about Poona Ford. He's sticking with the Los Angeles area, but instead of the Chargers, he's now with the Rams on a 3-year deal. The Rams' defensive line is going to be stacked, so good luck to Poona over there. Now, back to the Chargers. Another solid move was bringing back punter J.K. Scott. He's been fantastic for us, and it's great to see him back on a 2-year, $6 million deal. J.K. does a great job with hang time and consistently gives us solid field position. Stability in the punting game is always a plus. And finally, there's Bradley Bozeman. He signed a multi-year extension with the Chargers, though we don't know the exact numbers yet. From what I can tell, it's probably not as big as the $18 million contract he got from the Panthers before joining us, but it's likely in the range of $7 to $8 million. He only signed for just over $1 million last year, so this is a nice bump for him. With this extension, there's also some talk about moving Bozeman to guard, especially with reports that Zion Johnson has been getting snaps at center. Let's talk about what could be next for the offensive line. There's a chance that Zion Johnson could be the starting center next season, which would push Bradley Bozeman to guard. Whether it's right or left, we'll have to see. This might also depend on what happens with Trey Pipkins, but it's clear that Bozeman could be a big part of the line. We've seen him step up as a leader, especially when he defended Justin Herbert, which is something you love to see. Bozeman brings a great presence to the locker room, and he's versatile enough to play guard or stay at center. He's been with the team for a while now, so it makes sense for him to stay and help lead the charge under Coach Harbaugh's system. We'll have to wait and see whether he stays at center or makes the move to guard, but either way, it's a solid signing that adds depth and stability to the line. Now, let's move on to one of the first outside signings, Dante Jackson. The Chargers signed him to a 2-year, $13 million deal. At first, I wasn't too sure about this one, especially since Jackson didn't have his best year with the Steelers. He played a lot of man coverage, but that's not really his strength. He's more of a zone coverage guy, so with the Chargers, he'll likely play off coverage, which fits better with our defensive scheme. In 2022, he played about 82% of the Steelers' defensive snaps, so he's an every down kind of player. What I really like about him is his ability to make plays. What I really like about him is his ability to make plays. He started 15 games for the Steelers last season and had a career-high 5 interceptions, which was tied for 6th in the NFL. Over 7 seasons, he's racked up 19 interceptions and 54 pass deflections. With Dante Jackson joining the Chargers, he could pair well with Tarhay Still, who had an amazing rookie season, finishing just behind for Defensive Rookie of the Year with 4 interceptions and a pick 6. The combination of Jackson and Still could give us a dynamic cornerback duo, and with Cam Hart still in the mix, the Chargers' cornerback group is looking strong. We might see some changes with guys like Santi Samuel Jr. and Michael Davis, but Jackson and Still could be a really solid pairing. On top of his skills in coverage, Jackson is also a strong run defender. He's physical on the outside and does a great job attacking the run. In 2024, he ranked 37th in cornerback run defense, which is pretty good. Overall, I'm excited about the addition of Jackson. He's a veteran with playmaking ability, and I think he'll fit in perfectly with this defense. Speaking of former Steelers players, the Chargers also brought in running back Najee Harris on a 1-year, $9.25 million deal. Initially, I wasn't super excited about this signing. I don't see Harris as that explosive back who can break off big runs. He's more of a reliable, consistent guy who will get the job done every week. The thing about Harris, though, is his reliability. He's played every game in his career and has been a workhorse for the Steelers, which is exactly what the Chargers need. He might not be the most flashy player, but he's a steady presence in the backfield. I'm actually glad it's just a 1-year contract because it gives the team some flexibility. Harris could end up as the starting back, providing that physicality the Chargers need in their running game. With Gus Edwards leaving, Harris fits the bill as a big-bodied, reliable option in the backfield. He might not break off huge runs, but he'll grind out yards and keep the offense moving. His ability to be out there every week and take on a heavy workload is exactly what the team wants, so we'll see how he fits in with the Chargers' run scheme. Let's take a closer look at the comparison between Najee Harris and J.K. Dobbins. Now, there's still a chance that Dobbins could return, and honestly, I'd be pretty comfortable with having both Harris and Dobbins on the team as a 1A and 1B combo. Both of these guys can really grind out yards on the ground. When it comes to rushing, Najee Harris had 303 snaps last season, compared to Dobbins' 220. Harris had 263 carries, while Dobbins finished with 195, though Dobbins likely would have had more if he hadn't missed 4 games due to a knee issue. Despite that, Harris finished 14th in the league in rushing yards with 1,043, and it's been a while since the Chargers have had a 1,000-yard rusher, since Melvin Gordon in 2018, in fact. Dobbins, on the other hand, was 21st with 948 rushing yards, but considering he missed 4 games, he would have easily crossed the 1,000-yard mark. However, when it comes to touchdowns, Dobbins had the edge, finishing with 9 rushing touchdowns compared to Harris's 6. Dobbins also had a higher yards per carry average at 4.6, 13th in the league, while Harris was a bit lower at 4.0, 35th. Dobbins brought more of a downfield threat and a big play ability, which is something the Chargers would benefit from. One thing both backs did well in was holding on to the ball. Neither Harris nor Dobbins fumbled last season, which is great. Harris also led the two in forced missed tackles with 63, compared to Dobbins' 22, despite Dobbins playing fewer games. That stat really stands out because Harris's ability to break tackles and fight for those tough yards really fits the physicality the Chargers are looking for in their backfield. As for explosive runs, both players showed they can break off some big plays. Harris finished 8th in the league with 30 runs of 10 or more yards, while Dobbins had 27 of those runs, coming in 11th. Harris's longest run of his career was about 31 yards, but Dobbins is definitely the more explosive of the two when it comes to making defenders miss and turning plays into longer gains. Looking ahead, this year's draft is packed with talented running backs, And if the Chargers don't end up bringing Dobbins back, they could draft another back to pair with Harris. Someone like Marion Hampton could be a similar type of back. Or, if they want to go for a Thunder and Lightning combo, they could look at someone like Ashton Genty. There are a lot of options. Now, one area where Harris stands out more than Dobbins is in the passing game. Harris had 46 targets last season and caught 32 passes for 283 yards, compared to Dobbins' 36 targets, 32 receptions, and 153 yards. Harris is a little more involved as a pass-catching threat, and that could add a new dimension to the Chargers' offense. While both players had their fair share of missed tackles, Harris with 14 and Dobbins with 11, Harris also had 5 drops compared to Dobbins' 2, so that's something to keep an eye on. At the end of the day, forced missed tackles are a huge part of what makes a running back dangerous, and that's something Harris excels at. His ability to power through defenders and get those extra yards fits exactly what the Chargers need in a running back. That's why I think Harris adds a lot of value to this team. Of course, don't forget about the possibility of Dobbins coming back, but there's also a lot to consider with the draft. There are plenty of talented backs out there, and we'll see what the team decides to do moving forward. Day 1 of free agency has been an exciting one, but I want to hear from you guys. How would you grade the Chargers' free agent signings so far? On a scale from A to F, drop your thoughts in the comments below.